Okay, so welcome to December 2021. Here we go. We're almost at the end of the year. So, because of that, I have created just a little bit of a mini workshop for the latter part of our call today, which is something that I want to share with you about how I usually conclude the year. So much happens for us during the year, all these different experiences and different um, opportunities for growth. And hopefully, we've had a chance to grow because this year has been full of it. And we're going to get another one of those, another year full of opportunities for growth. So it's always good to kind of start the year with a clean slate and ending what you can for this year. So let me give you an overview of what we're going to talk about. First, of course, I'll give a very brief overview of human design, just for people who are joining us for the first time. And then we'll take a look at the charts that have been submitted. If you're live on the call, we will do some human design coaching around it. If you're not live on the call, I will potentially use your chart for a future human design a brief mini recording that I'll do about your chart and send out so that everybody has a chance to learn about it. And then we have this mini workshop. And in the meantime, I will also give you some ideas of what you can expect. Oh, and it says for the fall, I didn't change that. What you can expect for the next couple of months, like this month and next month, in human design terms. So here we go. So if you have been on my website, you've probably had a chance to request your chart, and you should have received your mandala. And your mandala, I think, is a beautiful picture of you at the moment of your birth. It really shows how the planets are all around you at the perfect moment where you came into being. And you see the different wisdom systems that are part of this, which are not just astrology, but also the I Ching, the Kabbalah, and the chakra system. So here are the zodiac signs, of course, the chops of the I Ching, the hexagrams of the I Ching, and the chakras of the chakra system. And then you see the connections in between the centers, which are actually from the Kabbalah, the tree of life. All of that information together has synchronized or synthesized in what we call human design. And what you get then is a chart. So here you go. This is my chart. And there's a lot of stuff on the chart. It has a lot of numbers. It has some interesting words. What does it all mean? And hopefully this call will give you a little bit more clarity on how you can apply the information. But if you're interested in actually learning more about what it all means, and then really take a look at your own chart and take a look at charts of maybe family and friends, which is always a lot of fun, I am going to be doing a human design level 1 class in January. And that will take you through a lot of the specifics in your chart so that you can already start using the most important information and go from there. And when I say using it, I really mean practical. I'm all about using this information in a very practical way. Okay. So here we go. We'll just delve right in. And Karen is not here. I think this is a great question. It's about procrastination, which I know a lot of people are having situations with. So procrastination, we will talk about that in one of the upcoming human design minis. And let's see, Marav also had a great question, not able to be here. So hopefully we'll be able to talk about that soon too. Hugo and Caroline, gosh, I'm so bummed that that Brooke is not here. Brooke actually submitted this for her friends Hugo and Caroline. There's such a great There's such a great picture of what happens when you have two individual people and we all have our own chart, we all have our own design, our own way in how we connect with the world and our areas for growth and our strengths and how does that work. What happens when you put two people together in a relationship or with a family or even at work? It's really interesting how all of a sudden you start affecting each other in ways that you didn't anticipate. And you may notice this from yourself that sometimes you're with a person and it just clicks. You just met and it's like you can just talk for hours and it just, there's this energy and it just goes. And then sometimes you meet someone and it's just, you say a few words and it's silence and it just feels really uncomfortable. And there's just these connections that you can see within human design, why that happens, why those clicking moments happen, and also why those other moments happen where you just have nothing to do with each other. Now, if you are in a relationship, of course, there are areas where you can click, and then there's areas where tension can flow or can come up. And those are always really important to look at because when you have an understanding of each other's design, there's a lot more acceptance, and there is an easier way in how to manage it. Yeah. So anyway, Hugo and Caroline, I will look at your chart some other time. The one chart that I do want to take a look at right now, just for fun, is Artemis. Artemis is Brooke's 8-week-old grandson. How special is that? Isn't that beautiful? Here's a beautiful chart of a beautiful little being, and there is a lot going on in this information. So first of all, what we're looking at here, if you're not familiar as familiar with human design, you see that there are two rows of numbers. The row on the right in black is information that has come in from the moment of your birth. That's a calculation that is done of the moment of your birth, and it gives you information about how things are known to you. So even though Artemis is a little bit young to already have a full understanding of himself, the information in black will be more resonant to them, more knowing of, oh, this is how I am. Yeah, this is what I do. This is how I can see myself being in life. On the other side, we have the red numbers, which is a calculation done about 3 months before birth. It's about 88 degrees of solar arc if you'd look at it through astrology. And this information is really where the soul comes in. It's where your strengths, your skills that are being passed on from forefathers and foremothers, they're coming here into play. And this information is often what we call the unconscious. So while the black is the conscious, the red is the unconscious. And when you overlay this, you now have you. Now, the unconscious information is often the information that over time you hopefully get to know more about yourself. But it's also the information that kind of just plays out without you actually having a real, like you're having your finger on it. So it's more the information that happens, and then you'll be like, oh yeah, I guess I'm like that. Or people call you out on that. People will tell you, you always do XYZ, and you'll be like, really? So this is one of the things why human design is so cool. It's because you get a real good view of your unconscious and why those things happen that you always wonder about, like, why am I like this? And this can give a light on it, can shed a light on it, and make it really practical in how you can manage it and how you can express that part of you in the highest way possible. So here we see Artemis chart, and as you see, there are a number of colored in centers, those triangles and squares that are colored in. This is where the information is running 24/7. So this is where we say Artemis by himself will always be mostly like this. And those other areas that are white is where there is no specific set way in how that operates for him. So information will come in by other people, like other people will come close to him, and their presence will affect those what we call undefined or open areas, those areas that are white in the chart. So this is where the universe gets to play. This is where you, if you look at your own chart, this is where you get to learn about yourself, where you get to interact with your environment and experience your environment interacting with you. So when we're looking at Artemis chart, I look at what colors are, what the centers are that are defined. I look at what centers are not defined. I look at the lines that are running between them, whether they're white or whether they're colored in. Again, if they're colored in, this is something that we can say about Artemis, that this is how he is, versus the other areas where it's undefined. And this is, again, where he will be more at the effect of the environment. So the first thing that I want to bring up about his chart is we always take a look at the type. In human design, there are a number of different types. We talk about 5 types. And Artemis is what we call a manifesting generator. And I see that, and let me know if you can see my mouse. Can you see my mouse? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Excellent, okay. So right here, we have that red square that connects all the way up to the throat. When there is a connection from what we call a motor center to the throat, then that means that there's a lot of energy that wants to express itself quickly. And a manifesting generator has that kind of energy where they can be impatient. They have a lot of energy, and it's not very easy for them to just kind of sit on that energy. You'll see a manifesting generator. My youngest daughter is a manifesting generator, and I call her my bouncy ball because it's that kind of energy. It's just like boom, boom, boom. It's constantly going, and it can be a little erratic. Manifesting generators can get a lot done in life because they are on the go. That, however, can also be a little bit of an issue because they can jump into things too quickly and then realize, oh, maybe I should have waited this one out, or maybe I should have gathered some more information. But a manifesting generator just really wants to get going. They want to get that stuff done. And especially in this case, this connection from the 34 all the way up to the 20, this is someone who is going to be busy. And the big question for Artemis is, am I being busy for busy sake? Or am I being busy because it's something that's actually useful and important for me to do right now? Is my whole being in tune with what I'm putting out in the world? Or is it like I'm just being busy because I want to get stuff done and I'm feeling this energy that needs to move? Because when I look at this chart, this is someone who has a lot of energy. So there is a lot of potential to want to make things happen in the world and not necessarily give themselves the time to really sit through, is this the right thing to get involved with? One of the beauties, another beauty of human design, I should say, is the fact that we all have our inner strategy, a very practical way in how we can apply our energy best. And in this case, for Artemis, his energy comes through this center. We call this the solar plexus or the emotional center. And this emotional center, it needs time in order to make decisions. It will often have this sense of things are going really great or things are going down. There's a lot of like ups and downs going on with this chart. And when you have that energy, the best thing to do is not to make a decision based on your emotion. Because if you feel like down and you feel bummed and you say no to something just simply because you want people to be just like leaving you alone, you may say no to the wrong thing, which is the opposite of making decisions too quickly and jumping into something too quickly. So the best thing for Artemis is to start learning their emotions and start recognizing, oh, this is how I feel when I'm asking myself whether I should do something or not, and when I feel like it's really right for me or not. And the emotions will inform different questions. The emotions will inform different ways of looking at the environment or the situation and come up with new new questions to gather more information so that eventually you have all that information together. And then you get to a point where there's not really a big high, there's not really a big low, it's kind of neutral. And when there is that sense of more calm, that's the point of asking yourself, is this really right for me to jump into right now or not? So that is going to be a learning curve, especially because this is a person who is also very quick as a thinker and very quick in bringing different components together to be able to make a decision. So when I look at, we talked about this center here, it's connected through this channel right here. It goes up all the way down, all the way to the throat. So this is one consistent design. We call it a single definition. And when there's a single definition, it really brings that information together very quickly. Like, he will know what he feels about certain things. If you'd have a break between it, if this would be sitting on its own, then the feelings may not necessarily be, oh, sorry about that. There we go. Okay, so the feelings may not necessarily get into clarity for that person. And in Artemis, in this case, for Artemis, he will have a clear handle on his feelings. He will know what he is feeling. On top of that, he has a very sensitive design. He really will feel what his environment is like, what the needs are from the people around him, and actually want to take that on more than his own needs even. So that's something to be aware of too. So again, here's someone who is very quick, who is very wanting to be out there and making things happen, very often wanting to be part of things, but also feeling like a little bit of an outsider, but also someone who is incredibly talented and will go through a process of trial and error to make things to make things more perfect for himself, to really perfect his talent. And that will go through practice and practice and practice. But this is a talented person who will have great things ahead of them, especially once they recognize to wait for the right things to come along and not immediately to make a decision, but to really wait and let the emotions do its thing. Now, this is just a very, very brief overview. There's so much more. Normally, I spent an hour and a half to go into someone's design in depth. So you can just only get an idea of what this is like. And at this moment, he's 8 weeks old. So let him enjoy being a baby for a while. Super cute. Okay, yes. So Starlight says, I wish I had asked you to talk about my chart with a friend's chart. So interesting to think about how charts interact with each other. Next time. Absolutely. I always love that. I always love relationships and how that works together. Okay, so let's see if I can move to the next chart. Here we go. So Natalie also asked me for a brief overview of her chart, and because she's not here, I am going to use that as a future HD mini as well. Looking forward to it, because look what an amazing chart this is. I love these charts because aren't they just so different from one another? We just had a lot of definition, and here we have a lot less definition, which does not make this person less powerful. I really want to be very clear that the number of centers you have defined does not tell you anything about the impact that this person can have in life, because this is a powerful person. Okay. Hey, Starlight, here you are. Okay. So you asked about forward momentum. Do you want to just talk to this a little bit?
Sure, yeah. I feel like I am making a lot of progress in terms of working on my website and it feels like the energy is flowing. I'm having a lot of motivation to work on it, which is cool. And yeah, I'm just feeling excited and kind of like driven to do things. And I feel like
Great.
I'm like, I definitely don't feel like I'm at like that red light that we talked about last time. But also, I feel like there are a couple things. Well, I mean, mainly things that I'm like relying on for other people. And this is something where I have had just to have faith that like things are going to come together when the moment is right. But it feels like,
Love it.
yeah, I'm kind of waiting on a couple things that rely on people outside of myself to come together. So, yeah.
Yes. Yes. It's so I don't necessarily want to say funny because it does not feel like funny at all. But it's what I hear from a lot of people. I hear that a lot. Like, okay, so things are moving and there are some big things that are not moving, and I'm basically waiting on someone else to make a decision or make things happen before they actually move. And there's this inner sense of um, this kind of back and forth between a sense of powerlessness and a sense of acceptance and trust that things will happen. And there's just this interesting energy in the world around that right now. So what I thought I'd do is, like last time, I came up with a couple of transits, one for this month and one for next month. And I want to weave in that the expectations or the energetic expectations that we can have for basically for everybody, what we can look forward to. So that I wouldn't do it twice. And I'm going to cough just one moment. Okay, I hope that's no, hope a little better now. So where I want to start is always take a look at your chart, right? Because this is the chart that we're dealing with in order to take a look at those transits. So as we know, your chart is a generator chart. And for people who are not very familiar with what that means, this red square, if there's the sacral center, if it's defined, it means this is a generator. In the chart that we looked at before, also had the red square defined, but that was a manifesting generator because it's able to manifest its power immediately. So here we have a generator who by themselves are not necessarily able to really put a whole lot of things in motion. Because if a generator acts as, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it my way, you're going to run into a lot of frustration. There's a lot of resistance and a lot of frustration. So a generator works really well when there is something to respond to. And the response comes in a sense of, oh, my energy is available for this, or, oh, no, I really don't want to deal with that. And so in terms of your chart and your business, just sitting at home and thinking, this is what I want to do, is against your design. However, those things to respond to can come from anywhere. It can come from a conversation. It can come from a class you're following. It can come because you're reading a particular book and all of a sudden there is this, oh, you feel your energy lift. And for you, it happens quick, right? Because you have this connection to your spleen over here. The spleen is quick, where the solar plexus takes more time. You're quick. Yeah. And so what happens when you get that, oh, I want to do this, there is these connections internally that tell you, okay, I want to do this to be able to take care of my world, my environment, my community. And I want to do that using systems that are really effective, that are constantly being fine-tuned in order to have the best systems available. Does that make sense to you?
I think so. Can you give me an example of this? Yeah.
Yeah. So this system can, let's see, how do I want to say this? This system can be something that can be like a real internal system. Like, how do I, if you're coaching, right? You're setting up your coaching business, right? So how do I set up my appointment system? That can be a system. Okay. But it can also be your work with your clients. what is the system that I can share with my clients to really help make them be as efficient? And you may have done trainings with certain organizations that have taught you a number of tools.
Mhm.
You, however, in the conversations that you're having, will be fine tuning those different tools so that they're always most effective for the collective, for the larger group. Okay, there is a tendency to be, this is a very critical connection that I'm looking at. And this one has a very critical eye to look at what is right and what is wrong. It's
Mhm.
called the channel of judgment. So there is a tendency to use it inwardly and really use it towards yourself. Where am I not good enough? But this is not what it's used for. It's used to be able to create those systems or to up level those systems to be able to bring about a way that really serves the community or the collective.
Okay, yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah, I definitely see that in myself.
So this is your chart. Now let's take a look what we have coming up. So these are slightly different charts. These are what we call transit charts. And when we do a transit, we only take the moment of the planets as they are currently. So on the left, we have the December transit that was from yesterday afternoon. And we also have the January transit for about the same time on the same date, on the 14th, 15th, it was in January. So this is what those transits will look like. So you'll see that all the red information is not applicable in this case. Okay. So for people who are into human design, you can probably already tell what this means. And for people who are not quite as clear yet on what all those numbers mean, let's take a look at, I wrote it out, so this gives you a little bit more of an idea of the themes that are playing. Okay, so first of all, these months, and especially in December, the sun is in currently still in the area or the theme of ideas and harmony. So you may have noticed over the past number of days that you have had some really interesting ideas, some ideas that can create more peace in the world, that can create a sense of harmony between you and your environment. Um, it's not a it's it's not an accident that December is a time for us to kind of pull back and kind of sit, go inward and sit with things, kind of review what we've done the past year, get ready for the next year. It's a time where a lot of us spend time with family. So that is all has to do with the ideas and harmony. Then in the next couple of days, we're going to shift in what we call the 10th gate, is the gate of self-love. And the gate of self-love is giving us an opportunity to really hold our hearts, to really be with ourselves and to hold our hearts and be kind to ourselves. You know, self-love, this process goes through a little bit of a development where you may start having these moments where you're really harsh on yourself and you're questioning yourself. And self-love asks of us compassion. It asks of us to hold ourselves into just this more gentle space. And that is going to bring us into the time of celebration. So it's a great theme, of course. We're going to celebrate, people celebrate all kinds of different holidays, Christmas, we've had Hanukkah, um, ways for people to come together. Okay. Now, at the same time, the earth in standstill, you may have noticed that the last few days, you may have not felt like you're really moving on things. Standstill is a process in its own way where you uh, go inward again. Things internally are kind of churning like the butterfly, and then all of a sudden something new emerges. So here we are in this period where new things are coming into being, but it may not necessarily be time yet. As if in the next couple of days, we're getting into the 15th gate of extremes. Another way is to call this is humanity. You may notice that you sleep really well and then don't sleep well. And in other words, extremes in your own rhythms may happen. Extremes externally may happen. But ultimately, it's also about the love of humanity. How do we connect with each other? And then there is a period of stillness. Like the end of the year is bringing a period of really just coming to yourself and really sitting on that mountaintop, taking a look at your life of this past year and just say, okay, what has value for me? What do I want to take further? Then Venus turns retrograde. It's in the gate of inner truth, and a retrograde Venus helps us take a look at our relationships. How are we sharing our love? How are we sharing our beauty? And taking a look through the lens of inner truth. What is truly here for me? Connected up to that sense of inspiration. What is truth with a capital T here in my relationship? Then there's also this sense of ambition, like we do want to make things happen. And at the end of the year, there may be a sense of opposition. We may have that sense. Opposition is, what do we stand for? What do we want to take a stand for? What is true for me that I so fully believe in that I want to take a stand for that? Then in December, Jupiter is in this gate of desires, which, we can see we have these desires, and these desires are now playing out in what kind of Christmas gifts do you want and what do you give others? What are the desires there? Jupiter is the expansion. So expansion goes into abundance at the end of December until January 26th, which is always a lovely time. There's a lot of abundant expansion. Saturn is very sensitive right now until beginning or the middle of January. The gate of approach, we talked about that just earlier with Artemis, is really about being sensitive to other people's needs. But Saturn brings, he's the taskmaster. So he wants us to really pay attention to, are we being sensitive and are we actually following through with that sensitivity, or are we just pushing that away? So it's about, are we standing up to other people's sensitivity, but also to our own. And then in January, we're shifting into listening. We'll talk more about that next month, probably. Neptune is in grace. We're all luckily having this beautiful energy of grace with whatever stuff is going on in the world. We're having this sense of grace. We're being held. Pluto bringing inner truth. And then in January, it's going to limitation. Now, limitation actually allows us to take a look at what are the resources that we need in order to move forward. What do we need to pull together so that we can move forward solidly? And then we have the North and South Node. We are currently experiencing this channel of charisma, this channel of being busy. And we're being busy. The question, of course, is, are we being busy for busy sake, or are we really being busy because the energy just makes us want to run, right? Oh, here we go. So here, sorry, there we go. So here we have Starlight's chart in with the transits. Starlight, are you able to show your video? Excellent. So I want to just check in with you. Did any of the energies that we just talked about already make sense for you? Are you feeling more busy these days?
Yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, that's kind of the energy that I feel around the motivation to like be working on my business is, I'm really feeling inspired a lot. And um, I can get almost a little bit workaholic-y
Mm,
when I feel very passionate about something. And so I'm trying to like temper that in some ways where, so I don't end up getting burnt out on this. I'm able to like work on it and be inspired, but also like have a work life balance and do like social things and relaxing things. So that's
good.
that. Yeah. Trying to balance.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's perfect. So what you're talking about, that inspiration here, we have this connection here, which really brings that center of inspiration and really lights that up for you. So there is a lot of inspiration going on for you, actually for everybody right now. And it will also be here as we're taking a look at the January influence. So that inspiration will continue to come down. It may not always connect easily for you because, as you can see, there is a break between the head. So here's the inspiration that comes in and then it gets processed in the head. And that doesn't necessarily get expressed. Okay. So it's good for you to be around other people who make that connection.
Mm.
And whether that means that, if you have roommates and you're sitting in the kitchen and people are walking around you, that may be a good time for you to just get those downloads and just start speaking them, writing them out, whatever is your preferred way of doing that. But this energy that I see in your chart is one that's very busy. So this is a perfect time to really get things moving with your continue to move with your business. Sorry about that. And especially because all this energy, it's almost all connected except for that little break there at the top. It's all connected. So there is a lot of way in which you're integrating the different components of yourself. You're having a more solid connection to this emotional center too. Where's my mouse? There it is. Right? Because here it is defined. So there is a lot of imagination that gets expressed right now through these emotions. Then here, this channel, I liked hearing you talk about, I'm spending time with friends, I'm being social, but I'm also taking time for myself. I'm really doing self-care, because you do have a chart that really says, I need to do a lot by myself. I really need to have a lot of me time. So make sure that despite how busy you are, you really carve out time for that. Now, December and January both have very busy charts. At the end of January, this is going to shift. Okay, that connection of that channel of being busy is going to disappear. The north and south node are shifting into a different place. So I would say get done as much as you can, but always, always, always watch for that moment where it really clicks in, like, okay, this is the moment to start. Okay. That may be when we get to the first week of January, when we shift into the ambition period, right? Ambition gives you that extra drive to really get going. So that may be a good time for you to really get into, like, here I am world. And then, we'll have that gate of abundance as well. So that will be also active for you. There may be some changes happening in terms of the limitation connection will be there in Pluto. That will be there a while for everybody. But again, that's good for you because it really gets you to pull all your resources together. Okay, what is it that I really truly need to make this a go, to really start happening? So I would say that, yeah, as of the first week or so, let me check really quick when that happens. I could, of course, go back to the previous page, but yeah, so I would say as of wait, December. I think it's happening at the end of December. Yeah, so as of the 30th of December, that is when we start getting into the abundance. And then as we get into January, that's when the ambition comes into play.
Okay. Yeah, that's really helpful. And it's actually validating to hear that I need a lot of time on my own because I sometimes worry that it's coming from an unhealthy place. Because I'm like, wow, I just really am sometimes like needing a lot of time alone and maybe I should be more social or something. But so anyway, it's nice to hear that validation because sometimes it also is coming from a place of like, oh, well, I don't know if I'll really connect with anybody or are they going to understand me? And like maybe,
Mhm.
assuming that people aren't going to be able to meet me, which I don't, I don't think that's necessarily a healthy place. Anyway,
Yes. Yeah,
um, yeah,
that's really interesting. That goes more into the 10th gate, and we'll talk a little bit more about the 10th gate in just a moment. I think with Libby's chart. So and just kind of couch that for now,
yeah,
and that is a really important concern, or not concern, but important question to keep asking yourself: where is this coming from? Is this
mhm,
coming from my need of really just needing my own energy, or is this coming because I am coming from fear and I don't know how to respond?
right, yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing I just like notice is that the heart center is still undefined through all that, and so I'm like,
Yep.
man, yeah, that's a anyway,
That's all right. And that's all right. You can always ask other people there, right?
yeah, right,
Other people for help.
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So, Libby, you had this great question about the 10th gate in your chart. So, what a fabulous chart.
I'm gonna go.
We can.
I'm down to walk on the beach, but I'm gonna run back so it's not so loud.
Oh, well, we love the idea of walking on the beach with you. That's fabulous.
I know it's just super loud today.
No problem. No problem. Are there a lot of waves?
um, this beach is pretty calm, but it's
Nice.
yeah.
Nice. Well, I have been dreaming about being on a tropical island and a tropical
Oh,
beach. So I'll keep your vision in mind.
okay. I'm sending to you. I'm sending it to you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. So, first of all, I just want to give a very, very super quick overview of your chart. And what we see here is, again, a manifesting generator, because again, we can see the connection here from the sacral center going all the way up straight to that throat center. So really, it's just a lot of energy that wants to express itself and it needs to move. Like, it's really important for you to move physically every single day. Now, this one, you have a lot of individual channels, integration channels, we actually call them. All of these, there are a number of different channels here that are all in one. And what they basically say is, I need to live life on my own terms. I can be with other people, I can do other things, but I really need to make my own decisions based on what's important to me. And so the 10th gate is about the behavior of the self. And here we see the 10th gate. Where's the mouse there? The 10th gate is in the center of the self. And the behavior of the self is this quest for self-love. Okay, so the quest for self-love, which happens to be your sun. And when we say your sun is in a particular gate right here, it means that that is the most important part of your conscious design. It's about 70% of of your personality. It's how you come out to the world. It's all about your own behavior, your own self-love. So that has to do with setting boundaries, but it also has to do with setting boundaries towards yourself, like being kind to yourself. Because again, with the 10th gate, there is a potential to really to be harsh on yourself. And there is a growth process to go through to get to a place where you can say, I love myself. I love myself. So that 10th gate is asking for you to take a stand and really show up for yourself and hold yourself with kindness and compassion and this gentleness. Does any of this make sense for you?
Yeah, very, very, a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
this last year,
Mhm.
especially for me, has been a lot of having to really learn how to set boundaries with people that have just really bad behavior. and
Mhm.
and I mean, even objectively, you would say. And so I've had to, yeah, and that harshness on myself this last year, I've really had to take a responsibility for that, and that's the best way I can say, and to bring that kindness to myself in.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing to remember is that you are here to be a role model in a way, because the more kind that you can be with yourself, you're here to be an example to others about what that's like. And as I mentioned earlier, these channels here, they're all connected and there are 5 different channels in here. But the one channel that I really would suggest you pay attention to is this 1020 channel. Do you see it right here, to going to the throat?
Yeah.
So that particular channel, this is a channel of high principles. It
Mm.
it you have it in you to hold others to their highest potential. That you have particular set of principles that that people are not living up to, and you hold them to higher standards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's okay. Is
Yeah.
that okay for people? I could see how that could be
Well, the
a
thing is
problem.
that not when I look at your chart, because your chart, you have this 25th gate. That's your Mars. This is how we are expressing ourselves often in our career. The 25th gate is the gate of innocence.
Mm.
So when people meet you, there is this sense, this innocence around you. So how could they take that wrong?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you come from that inner knowing, that gut response that says, okay, I have a standard and I'm holding you to your higher principle. What you're doing at that moment is you're connecting into this 20th gate. Here's the 20th gate. And the 20th gate is the gate of now. It's really this portal between the current, your physical current reality, and the bigger spiritual reality of presence being what's all that there is. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you're just basically lifting people up spiritually through this real innocence that you have. But it's not
Mm.
as, but it's really important that you follow your own path.
Yeah. I mean, it's bringing a lot of emotion up through my throat, but thank you. I mean, because it's true.
Good. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're recognizing that. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And then the 26th gate, is over here. Oops, here we are. So the 26th gate is in a gate that's undefined, and meaning when it's undefined, again, you don't have consistent access to it. Sorry about that. You only have access to it when other people are around you, giving you access to it, when they have it defined, or when there is a transit that kind of clicks it in and lights, spotlight on it. So only in those moments is when the 26th gate comes out. The 26th gate is this gate that is really good in spinning things in a particular way. So you think of the salesperson. I have the
Yeah.
26th gate. And the way that I tend to use my 26th gate, and my center is defined, so I have always access to it. The way that I tend to do it is that when I'm doing these kinds of conversations, or I'm doing readings, or I'm doing coaching, I and spin is not necessarily the right way, but I am able to voice things in a way so that people can hear it.
Yeah.
And as long as that voicing comes from the heart and your integrity, then you're doing right with your design. Then you're aligned, and then people can hear it. You know, if there's other stuff underneath it, if there's agenda or if there is manipulation or something like that, then other things can happen, right? You will
Right.
get into frustration, you will get into arguments and things like that. But yeah, there's also the potential of telling the big tales. You know, you catch a fish and you talk about the big whale that you caught. That is potential. But again, as long as you're connected to your inner sense of integrity, then you're good.
Okay. That is funny because people say a lot. They'll say, I'll say something about something, a situation, and they'll say, well, that's a nice way to put it. Like I've been told I could be a good diplomat or a press secretary because I will take a situation so just like what you're saying, and I'll put it in a certain way that makes it for people kind of, they'll say, well, that's a nice way to put it. Like I can make it more digestible. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They've told me I should be a spokesperson for companies,
Yeah.
Exactly. Because that's exactly what it is. Yeah. Excellent. All right. Any other quick questions before we move on?
Don't know. I guess I'm not sure what to ask. I feel like I want to get a private, with you, because I'm not sure what to ask.
Sure.
In this moment.
Right. All right. Excellent. Then we will either do a private. I would love that with you, and or if there is a question, we'll maybe use it for another Human Design Mini. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, all right. So here is an exercise that I like to do for myself, and I usually do it over a number of days. What I'd like to do is I will take my cup of tea and I'll take my journal, and I take a number of pages in my journal. Very often I just flip my journal around and start at the back because I never know how far I will go for it, how much paper I will need. So if you have a chance to have some paper in front of you, that would be very helpful at this point. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to take a page, draw a vertical line straight down the middle. So now you have 2 columns. And the top of your left column is going to be about what went well. And then the top of the right column is about some of the things that didn't go so well. All right, so here is just a little bit of an example. And I call this making up the balance. And it's an application of a HeartMath technique called the Assets Deficits tool that I've applied. Like I said, I've been doing this for years. So on the one hand, on the left-hand side, this is what went well for me. And you basically start listing the things that went well, and you want to give some space for the things that didn't go so well. So here I wrote the Gates to Soul Wisdom Oracle cards are doing really well. They're being sold all over the world, which is super exciting. And then, then I came up with, well, however, I did get into a major car accident. I was rear-ended and the car was totaled, and the recovery actually took quite a while, a lot longer than I had expected. So that didn't go so well. But what I want to do is I want to make sure that I keep the space open over here. And I just go to the next line and write down, well, what else went well? So what else went well is also in my business. The app was released. I have more than 350 downloads, which is exciting. And there's translations in French and Dutch and Japanese. So those are really exciting things. I visited my family in the Netherlands. Then what didn't go so well, the lockdown has still continued. Even though we're a little bit more open now, certain parts of the world are shutting down again. We're wearing masks. So there's all of that. And I am leaving, as I said, space open in between. Okay, so I'm going to give you just a little time to come up with a few things. Again, this can just be, some things that have to do with your work. It can be things that have to do with your family. It can be just anything. One thing that I do is I grab my phone and I take a look at the photos that I've taken over the year. So I remember the kind of things that really were worth it for me to make a photo of and potentially be listed on this list right here. So just take a moment and do some writing down if you can. Would either one of you like to share about what you wrote down?
Yeah, so what went well despite what didn't go well? Writing a book with my cat Tiger, done a lot. I'm feeling very creative here.
Great.
And then of course, being so close to the sea and wonderful nature, so I had lots of walks, even managed a few swims in the sea.
Whoa.
Birds on my doorstep, feeding them, and I was even looking after wasps all summer coming in through my skylight. And cats, of course. I'm feeding.
Nice.
I always have treats in my pocket, freeze-dried meat, so proper treats. So I offer it to all the dogs I meet on walks and neighbor cats.
I'm sure they love you. Yes.
Yeah, so that's keeping me going. Otherwise, moving to a warmer home hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
And what didn't go well last winter, looking after my hands in this cold home, because I had terrible frozen fingers, swollen.
Oh.
It's going better this year because I've learned some survival strategies. So, and we haven't had very cold weather yet.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So,
okay. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
I'm balancing, focusing on the positive.
Yes. Well, and that's where we're going. Yes.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Libby, how about you? Did you want to share something?
Sure. So what went well this year, I've had a lot of financial stability in the midst of a lot of change. And so what went well connect with what didn't go well is a separation from my husband. So even with all of that, I felt cared for, and I've been able to, and again, I've had to, like I talked about before, like really strengthen my self and communication and clear boundaries, which has, even though can be scary to do that, every time I do it, I get a stronger sense of myself and I have more clarity. So that's what has gone well. But then what didn't go well is like people kind of attacking me and doing things that were very ugly. So that didn't go well. And then my daughter just doing in the midst again of both, her parents being separated, and then the pandemic and how that's affected kids, how that's been with schooling and stuff. She's just been doing incredibly well. So I'm very grateful for that. Yeah. And my health and, things like that is very not to take for granted. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for sharing all that. So, as you see, we all have life, right? We all have life going on. We all have things that go really well, and then we have things that are not so well. So, how do we balance that at the end of the year? And one of my favorite moments is by taking the things that didn't go so well and then finding the beauty in it, finding the, what can I learn from this? What can I gain from this so that I can let it go by the end of the year and not have to take all that energy with me into the next year? So for me, what didn't go so well, that major car accident, I did get a new car, which was something that was on my list at the beginning of the year. I'd written this as part of my goal. Sometime this year, I'd like to get a new car. And oops, I just didn't specify exactly how I wanted it to go about. But I do love my car. And another thing that the recovery brought me was to really take a stand for my own health and to not push myself as hard as I used to. I used to work out every single day for like 45, 50 minutes, sometimes an hour, like active. And now it's much more gentle and I just listen to my body. So those are some of the things that I have gained from this that really will take me forward into next year. In terms of the lockdown, what started with the lockdown is that my family in the Netherlands and us over here in California, we meet up, well, have until mid-October when I went to the Netherlands. We met every Sunday or about every Sunday just to check in. How are things with you? And, I got so much closer to my brother's sons, my nephews, besides the, occasional conversations that we may have had whenever we visit. So it's definitely brought us as a family a lot closer. So now I would like you or invite you to take a look at those things that didn't go so well. And what else can you take out of that as a learning or as a gift that you can take with you into the new year?
Would you like us to share now?
Oh, if you already have answers, that's great.
It's brilliant because at least I can praise myself for something because I've been already doing it. With not being able to move home yet, it's a great opportunity to practice my no authority way of making decisions. I got your love.
Yes.
And I also had a healing session of a healer in America, and today I had a lovely EFT tapping. I was on the love seat it's a program with Karen Parker, Human Design.
Okay. Yeah.
We got into really the core of the issue, and I was crying, in front of I don't know how many people. So it was all about, because 2 years ago I was doing a similar program with them, and I was tapping about moving to Scotland. No, so they remembered me. So I'm learning a lot. I've grown a lot because I know I'm blocking myself in some way. So I'm working on that. And then with my frozen fingers, can you actually see me on the screen? I put the light on. It must have been very dark. So I got this from Denmark. It's organic, pure merino wool with a hood.
Oh, nice.
And I'm wearing hand warmers. And sometimes when it's very cold, I have the hood on my head here. And then when I go out, I just put a jacket on and a scarf and off I go. While last winter in December, I was actually stopping myself from going out because I didn't feel like changing and then going to another cold. So I developed some, survival strategies and inner strength.
Yeah, there you go. That's great. Taking care of yourself.
Yes, exactly. Under the circumstances. I mean, I'm still here, so I can't. And I also had some sessions, 2 months of scalar light. And
Okay.
that really made me accept the way things are now and just, dealing with it and not sitting here and wishing that I was somewhere else. Well, I'm not.
Yes.
Just dealing
Yes.
with what is and accepting what is. Amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
Of
There's a
course,
lot of peace.
your inspiring webinars and your readings and a lot.
Great. Great. Yeah. There's a lot of peace in accepting, right? In accepting where you are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Beautiful. Wow. Beautiful learnings. Yeah. And Libby, how about you?
Well, definitely self-empowerment, really taking that up a notch with caring about what is going on in my mind and my heart. So I can hash things out, or or let things play out more than they need to in my mind. So really stepping up, like taking care of myself, like that's not a great choice for me, and like in loving and caring about myself and what's going on within myself.
Yeah.
So
beautiful.
And then the more I actually use my voice to tell people no, or to say what's not working for me, or how I need things to be for myself, and let go of how that's going to go. Because I used to want to, it's like this control thing, or it's a fear, or all of it mixed up. It's like saying, no, this isn't okay for me. This isn't going to happen for me like this. I need something different, and letting go of how the other person is going to handle that. Just let it go.
Yes.
And let it be what it's going to be.
Yes.
Because I used to just sit on my voice, sit on what was true for me, and that's not okay anymore.
Wow. Very powerful. I love that. Yeah. Great.
And letting things be messy if they need to be,
That's powerful. Yeah. That's a lot to take in, or take with you into the new year. Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. All right. Well, then the last little exercise that I invite you to play with is, at the end, when I've gathered all these different experiences and I read them over, I usually tend to come up with like a word or a brief sentence about what the year has represented. And then that informs what I want the next year to represent. So I invite you to write these down, these two sentences. What does the current year represent for you? And then what would you like the next year to represent? And allow this process to unfold over the next couple of weeks. And in human design, you actually get a little extra time, because usually we enter the 41st gate usually in a little bit later at the end of January. So I will definitely let you know when, according to human design, the new year starts. At least I often find that I am not ready to really set my intentions for the next year until I'm already in the next year. That's when things really start to gel, and like, okay, now things become good. Now things become more crystallized in order to make an informed intention. So was this helpful for you?
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Okay, great. Excellent.
Yes, thank you, Mary. It was brilliant. I love
Excellent. Brilliant. Oh, I like brilliant.
Excellent.
Well, it was so lovely spending time with both of you, and with Starlight too, to leave earlier. I don't know what happened. I had a lot of people signed up, but it is Thursday during the morning. So I am looking forward to spending time with you again, hopefully in the new year. Please do let me know if there's anything that I can support you with in the meantime. And I wish you a very, very blessed holiday season and a great start of the new year. Thanks for being here.
You too. Thank you so much.
All right.
Same
You're
to
welcome.
you both. Thank you so much. See you next year.
See you next year. Bye-bye.
Enjoy our webinars and your readings.
Thank you.